They were a family unlike any other on television. While most reality stars thrived on red carpets, designer clothes, and city skylines, the Browns chose a different path. They braved the icy wilderness of Alaska, carved shelters from rough-hewn logs, and hunted for food in the unforgiving cold. To millions of viewers, they weren't just survivalists. They were pioneers carrying a torch for a simpler, harder way of life. They called themselves the Wolf Pack, a family bound by grit and determination. But reality, as it often does, turned out to be far harsher than the image painted on screen. Behind the cameras, the Browns faced storms no one saw coming. Devastating illnesses, sudden deaths, legal scandals, broken marriages, and arrests that shook the very core of their legacy. Since the debut of Alaskan Bush People in 2014, audiences have followed this family through thick and thin. Yet by 2025, the Wolfpack is no longer the same. The patriarch who led them is gone. Some children are estranged, others in legal battles, and a few still cling to the dream their father instilled. So which of the Browns have tragically passed away? Who has faced the cold bars of a jail cell? And what remains of the family's survivalist dream in 2025? Let's uncover the untold story of the Alaskan Bush People cast, those who are dead, those in jail, and those still fighting to keep the wolf pack alive. Billy Brown. At the center of Alaskan Bush People stood one man, Billy Brown. For fans, he was the heartbeat of the series, the strong-willed patriarch who guided his family with wisdom, grit, and faith. Born on December 3, 1952 in Fort Worth, Texas, Billy's childhood was marked by unimaginable tragedy. When he was just 16, a plane crash killed his parents and sister, leaving him orphaned and homeless. It was a loss that shaped him forever, forcing him to learn independence and survival the hard way. Billy's early years were spent drifting, working odd jobs, and searching for purpose. He married young, though that relationship ended quickly. It was only when he met Ami Martin, just 15 at the time, that his life began to change course. Together, they built a family that would grow to 7 children. For Billy, family was everything, and it was through them that he would build his dream. In 2014, Discovery Channel introduced Billy and the Browns to the world. Overnight, he became a household name. His vision of an off-grid lifestyle, complete with cabins, hunting, and makeshift inventions, captivated viewers. He wasn't just a survivalist, he was a storyteller, guiding audiences through every hunt, every build, every hard winter. But living in the wilderness came with a cost. Years of respiratory problems and heart issues plagued Billy as he aged. His once boundless energy slowed, and fans noticed him struggling during later seasons. On February 7, 2021, tragedy struck. Billy suffered a fatal seizure at the family's homestead in Washington and passed away at the age of 68. His death sent shock waves through the Wolfpack and their millions of fans. Discovery aired tributes, cast members broke down on camera, and viewers mourned a man they felt they knew personally. More than just a character on TV, Billy symbolized resilience and leadership. Without him, the show struggled to maintain its identity. By season 14 in 2022, the spotlight shifted to his children, but the spark had dimmed. The patriarch was gone, and with him, a piece of the Wolfpack spirit. For many, Billy's passing marked the unofficial end of Alaskan Bush People. Ami Brown. If Billy was the head of the Wolfpack, Ami Brown was the heart. Born on August 28, 1963 in Texas, Ami's early life was complicated. She married Billy when she was just 15, a decision that drew scrutiny but also cemented her role as the family's foundation. Through years of hardship, Ami became the voice of calm, the gentle matriarch who offered compassion when others faltered. Her biggest battle came in April 2017, when she was diagnosed with stage 3 non-small cell lung cancer. Doctors gave her a grim outlook, a 3% chance of survival. Fans and family feared the worst. Yet Ami endured grueling rounds of chemotherapy and radiation, and by December of that year, she achieved what few thought possible. She was declared cancer-free. The diagnosis forced the Browns to make a difficult decision. They left the remote wilds of Alaska for Washington State, where Ami could access the medical care she needed. The move marked a turning point in the family's story. No longer deep in the bush, they were now balancing hospital visits, suburban living, and the weight of fame. When Billy passed in 2021, Ami's quiet strength became more important than ever. Widowed, she found herself managing not only grief, but also the tangled estate her husband left behind. Lawsuits, land disputes, and financial struggles fell squarely on her shoulders. A $500,000 lawsuit from a former business partner only deepened the strain. In February 2025, fans were once again gripped with fear when Ami was rushed to the hospital with severe chest pains and breathing difficulties. Doctors placed her in a medically induced coma to fight pneumonia, and for days the family prepared for the worst. By late February, however, Ami showed signs of recovery. Videos later posted by Bear showed her at home, using oxygen but surrounded by her children. Despite her frailty, Ami remains a fighter. She has earned her driver's permit, taken charge of the family's estate, and continued to support her children. To fans, she represents perseverance in the face of overwhelming odds. But 2025 has been a reminder. Even the strongest heart in the wolf pack is not invincible. Ami's story is one of resilience, but also of fragility, a symbol of just how much the Browns have endured and how much they continue to fight to hold on. Matt Brown, the eldest of the Brown siblings, Matthew Jeremiah Brown, better known simply as Matt, was once seen as the natural heir to Billy's rugged legacy. Early in the series, Matt showed a strong presence. He was inventive, handy, and seemed to have inherited his father's charisma. Fans often imagined that if Billy ever stepped back, Matt would take up the mantle as the Wolfpack's leader. But behind the scenes, Matt's story unfolded much differently. Fame, isolation, and personal struggles began to weigh on him. By the mid-2000s, Matt was quietly battling alcoholism. At first, the issue was kept from the cameras, but by 2018, his absence from episodes and erratic behavior made it impossible to ignore. In 2019, Matt officially left the show to enter rehab, marking one of the most painful family fractures of Alaskan Bush People. For many viewers, it was shocking. The eldest Brown, the one who was supposed to be Billy's right-hand man, was suddenly gone. But Matt's struggles didn't end there. In interviews and social media posts, he leveled serious accusations. He claimed producers pushed drug and alcohol use on set. He alleged that Billy withheld money from him. In 2018, two women accused Matt of misconduct in California. While the LAPD investigated, the case was not prosecuted. Still, the headlines added to his growing troubles. Estranged from the family, Matt sought healing in solitude. He moved to Washington State, not far from the North Cascades. Instead of cameras, he turned to simpler outlets: farming, beekeeping, hiking, and drawing. He often disappears for days into the wilderness, camping on Chopaka Mountain, returning with survival tips and reflections that he shares on his YouTube channel. In this quieter life, Matt found something valuable: sobriety. Over the years, he has openly documented his recovery, celebrating milestones on Instagram and encouraging fans who fight similar battles. His raw honesty resonates with those who see him not as a fallen star, but as a man determined to rebuild his life. Yet one wound remains open: his fractured bond with the rest of the Browns. Bear admitted, "Matt does his own thing. We don't see him much." Despite physical proximity, the emotional distance is deep. Fans often ask if a reunion will ever come, but so far Matt remains on his own. By 2025, Matt is unlikely to return to Alaskan Bush People. Instead, he has carved out his own niche, far smaller than the fame he once had, but arguably more authentic. To many, he represents both the tragedy and the resilience of the Wolfpack, a man who fell hard but continues to rise, one sober day at a time. Joshua Bam Bam Brown. If Matt's life veered toward chaos, Joshua, nicknamed Bam Bam, embodied steadiness. Born in 1984, Bam Bam quickly became known as the family's practical, no-nonsense problem solver. On the show, he wasn't as flamboyant as Bear or as eccentric as Noah. Instead, he was focused, disciplined, and often carried the quiet authority of someone who preferred work over words. But even Bam Bam eventually walked away. In 2017, he took a break from filming after beginning a relationship with Allison Kagan, a producer on the show. For many fans, this was surprising. Bam Bam was private, rarely hinting at personal romances. His decision to step away underscored how seriously he took the relationship. In 2019, Bam Bam briefly returned to the series, but it was clear his heart was elsewhere. By 2020, he had shifted his focus entirely, launching a small eco-innovation startup. His goal was ambitious: combine his wilderness skills with modern technology to design sustainable living solutions. It was a natural evolution for someone who had spent years surviving off-grid. But Bam Bam's life took a terrifying turn in January 2022. While driving a GMC in Washington, he collided with a Camaro. The crash killed the passenger in the other car. Though Bam Bam survived with minor injuries, the tragedy haunted him. Unlike his more outspoken siblings, Bam Bam largely kept silent, issuing only brief thanks for surviving and prayers for the victim's family. Since then, he has retreated further into privacy. Living with Allison aboard a yacht in Charleston, he rarely updates fans. When he does, it's usually to share nature photography, landscapes, seascapes, and wildlife shots that reflect his eye for beauty. In 2025, Bam Bam honored his father in one of the most personal ways yet. He recorded the audiobook version of Billy's memoir, One Wave at a Time. For many fans, it was a poignant reminder of the bond between father and son, and proof that even in his quietude, Bam Bam still carries the family's legacy. His online mantra remains family, faith, freedom, echoing Billy's ethos. Though his life is less dramatic than his siblings, Bam Bam represents another path, one defined not by scandal or fame, but by purposeful, private living. He may never return to reality TV, but his story continues in a quieter key, one of resilience, reflection, and quiet dignity. Bear Brown. If there was ever a Brown sibling who seemed tailor-made for television, it was Solomon Isaiah Freedom Brown, known simply as Bear. From the moment Alaskan Bush People aired, Bear was the family's adrenaline junkie, the king of extreme, who treated the Alaskan wilderness like his personal playground. Fans loved his boundless energy, his high-pitched voice, and his daredevil antics. Bear wasn't just surviving in the bush, he was thriving, leaping, climbing, and living life at full speed. But life after the cameras dimmed told a more complicated story. When the family relocated to Washington in 2017, Bear's role slowly shifted. For the first time, he seemed less focused on wild stunts and more interested in settling down. In 2021, he married Raven Adams, and together they started a family, welcoming 3 sons, River, Cove, and Everest. For viewers who had watched Bear climb trees and chase after wolves, it was startling to see him now focused on diaper changes and bedtime routines. Yet marriage and fatherhood did not erase Bear's challenges. In March 2022, he was arrested on misdemeanor domestic violence charges after a dispute with Raven. Though the case was resolved through a plea deal, the headlines cast a shadow over his image. Fans debated whether the daredevil had crossed a line too far. In time, he reconciled with Raven, and the two tried to rebuild their family unit. By 2023, Bear was back in creative mode, teasing new ventures to keep the Wolfpack legacy alive. He renovated a school bus into a mobile home, began selling comics and merchandise online, and even teased 2 spin-offs, Alaskan Bush People, Behind the Scenes with Bear Brown, and Next Generation of Alaskan Bush People. Neither project has yet materialized, but they reflect his refusal to let the family story fade into obscurity. In early 2025, Bear and Raven announced their separation again. This time they insisted the split was peaceful, and they would co-parent their 3 sons with no animosity. The announcement showed maturity and restraint, qualities fans once doubted Bear possessed. Today, Bear balances co-parenting duties with his personal projects. He frequently posts videos reflecting on his father's teachings, sharing old footage, and narrating wilderness stories. In doing so, he has transitioned from reckless daredevil to reflective family man. For many in the Wolfpack fan community, Bear remains the most public, the most accessible, and perhaps the most conflicted of all the siblings. He is still chasing dreams, only now they are dreams of property, spin-offs, and a stable future for his children. Gabe Brown. If Bear embodied energy and chaos, Gabriel Starbuck Brown, better known as Gabe, was his counterpoint, artistic, emotional, and quietly evolving. Born in 1989, Gabe was always the sibling who seemed to straddle two worlds, the rugged survivalism of the wolf pack and his own need for self-expression. In 2019, Gabe married Raquel Rose Pantilla. Their wedding was a tender, intimate affair, far removed from the spectacle of reality television. Together, they built a home in Washington and welcomed two daughters, the second born in late 2024. Fatherhood softened Gabe even further, grounding him in family life. But Gabe's creativity has always set him apart. While his brothers preferred hunting or building, Gabe turned to music and art. He sketched portraits, played guitar, and often shared pieces of his work online. In early 2025, he posted an original acoustic performance that drew praise from fans, reminding them that the Wolfpack story was as much about individuality as it was about survival. Life hasn't been easy for Gabe. In 2020, a wildfire destroyed the mountain property he and Raquel had worked so hard to build. The family moved into rental housing, starting over from scratch. Despite the setback, Gabe leaned into resilience, balancing construction work with homesteading while continuing to create. Health concerns also made headlines. In early 2025, Gabe underwent surgery for an undisclosed issue. Fans feared the worst, but Gabe reassured them with heartfelt updates, showing his gratitude and optimism. His recovery underscored his resilience, even as his role in the family shifted. Gabe has also spoken openly about the mental toll of social media. At one point, he confessed he had considered deleting his accounts entirely after feeling betrayed by online interactions. Yet fan support pulled him back, and he continues to share moments of his life, both joyful and painful. His personal style has also sparked conversation. With eyeliner, bold sideburns, and an evolving fashion sense, Gabe has broken away from the rugged image associated with the Browns. Some fans see this as refreshing individuality, while others view it as an odd departure. But Gabe seems unconcerned. He is charting his own course, one that blends wilderness with creativity. In 2025, Gabe stands as one of the more stable Browns. Focused on his daughters, grateful for his health, and eager to create, he represents the possibility of growth beyond the wilderness. While Bear remains in the spotlight, Gabe's quieter, more personal journey reminds fans that survival is not just about braving storms, it's about enduring the everyday trials of family and self-expression.